Good morning, all. Welcome back to another episode of Shared Light with Dusty and JR. I am obviously JR.
And I'm Dusty.
How's your week been?
I feel like we've had a good week.
Yeah.
It's been busy, but fun.
Yeah, it's been a little bit, I feel like this week was a little bit hectic.
Yeah.
You know, we had an audit at work, which is always fantastic. And then we just, everything outside of work was, for you, it's kind of just all work. It all blends together, I think. But that really got me thinking this week about a topic that I don't think a lot of people talk about. And that's the idea of unspoken expectation. You know, those are those expectations that you have of a partner that you yourself feel is obvious, but that your partner may just not even have any idea that is an expectation that you have. I feel like we have a lot of those.
Yeah. I think we still do, even though we're where we're at with communication, but I think the first majority of our marriage,
Yeah.
we had a lot of those.
Yeah.
They're just, what it says, it's unspoken expectation. They're just, you're not talking about them. They're just assumed by your partner.
Over the course of 20 plus years that we've been together and known each other, obviously we still, like you said, we still have a bunch of them. I think some of them we've figured out. You know, there's like the whole trash thing that I think you just expect me to take the trash out. And for the longest time, for me, it was just kind of like one of those deals where like, well, if it's full, take it out.
And I was like, yeah, but I just spent all this time cleaning everything else and doing dishes.
Yeah. It's funny to think about because it's like again, how often do you hear people talk about, well, who's taking the trash out?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those, I think, in our marriage. You know, I have a general expectation of like dinner, right? Like, I don't know that we've ever spoken it or said it, but I definitely feel like, especially if you're home, that you're going to handle dinner.
Yeah.
You know, not to say that I don't know how to cook or I don't want to cook, but like you have the time. Why not?
Yeah. And I just always have.
And you have. For the majority of our marriage, you have been the one that has fed us and, you know, kept
you alive.
Kept me alive. It's definitely, but it's one of those things again that we don't ever verbalize it. It's just an assumption that we have, which is both good and bad, I think.
Yeah. Well, some of them aren't as lighthearted as taking out the trash.
Right. And it's those ones that I think that's where we get into situations where resentments and things can build. You know, case in point, my upbringing, right? So I think, and I don't know for sure, but I am fairly certain that you have a general expectation of me to let you in to how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what's bothering me, what's not bothering me. And that, for me, is not the way I was raised. Over the course of, 20 years,
yeah,
it finally came to a head, I think. Not just that, but compounded with a lot of other things that have happened and gone on. And it's one of those situations where I don't think about it. For me, that's just what I do, right? If something happens, I shut up, man up, and deal with it.
Or you internalize it and to kind of work through it in your mind.
Right. For you, ends up being a very scary thought.
Yeah. The unknown is scary for me. But so is the silence. You know, I think they kind of go hand in hand, which those unspoken expectations are, they're silence because you're not talking about them.
Right.
So that's when the silence, for me, just starts to create, I've always told you, like if I don't have the answer or know the answer, my anxiety brain and worst case scenario brain will always fill that in for me.
Right. And I think so some of that for you, though, is also, that's obviously tied a little bit to some of the things that we've gone through. But a majority, I would say, has to do a lot more with some of the past relationships that you talked about in your story.
Yeah.
Where individuals were not clear with you about what they were thinking or doing. And they were out doing things that they shouldn't have been. And, the interesting thing about me, and maybe it's interesting, maybe it's not, but, culturally, I feel like it's a set expectation that men are men and you don't talk about your feelings. You don't put your burden on anyone else. You deal with it, you work through it, you suffer in silence and you just put your head down and do the work that you need to do. And that ends up driving up a little bit of a wall, I feel like, because you, and even me, the expectation is that I'm not going to burden you, right? And my unspoken expectation on that side of it is, well, you should just understand that I'm just dealing with it.
Right. You should just automatically know that
That
that's how I work and that's
right.
what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And not, it has nothing, as like my expectations has, it has zero to do with you. Just let me deal with it. That turns into a weird dynamic.
Yeah. Because my expectation is, well, we're a team. Like, we need to verbalize it. We need to talk about it. We need to figure it out. We need to.
Right.
So if you're not doing that, then it, signals that in me that's like, something's wrong. Something's wrong with us.
Yeah, you very much take it like, well, he's mad at me or he doesn't want to talk to me.
There's something going on in his mind that he's not telling me or.
And for me, it's just like, I'm just working through my own thing. Like, let me deal with it. I'll be fine in a couple days. Just,
yeah.
But again, over time, and I don't know that it's built a lot of resentment, but I'm sure it's built some. That I'm not always so forthcoming with my emotions and my thoughts. But I would say, a majority of couples and partners and even, friendships can deteriorate because people have these expectations that they don't talk about.
Right.
Which for full context, I did not know any of these expectations until probably about, a year ago, 6 months ago. And vice versa. You didn't know my thought process either.
Right. We didn't communicate that to each other.
Right.
We just made assumptions and it was just something we didn't talk about.
Well, and I think it's one of those things that it's so obvious to the person. Like, it's so obvious to me and my perspective in my little hole of the universe that, well, I mean, we haven't had any issues. So why would you think it has anything to do with us?
Right.
And the flip side to that is in your little corner of the universe, it's a different mindset and perspective.
Yeah.
So it definitely can be one of those situations where as you progress and as you continue to, and I'm not even saying that it's always, super heavy either. Oh. Like, little things can start to snowball. I mean, the trash thing, there are times where I know if I don't take the trash out a few times a week or I forget a few times a week, like it's annoying to you.
It's not really annoying. It's just like, I think sometimes with those expectations, you just start to think like, he can remember this, but he can't remember that. Or, you know what I mean? And vice versa. Like, well, I was silent at one point and she didn't think anything of it. So why is she upset now because I'm silent? Or, I think it's not really an annoyance. It's more of a confusion for me sometimes.
Well, because at that point, it becomes a misinterpretation between the two of you. And it can leave one person or the other feeling less seen or unheard.
Yeah, especially over time as those build up, even if they're small, big, they start to stack up over time.
Yeah, which I mean, in a lot of relationships, that is how resentment builds. Because in your brain, I mean, you may not be physically writing it down, but in your brain, you're taking score of all those times that they haven't done the right thing that you're expecting them to do, that they haven't reacted the way that you anticipate they're going to react, or some of those situations leads to situations like we ran into where there was, a tad bit of a disconnect. And then it really took a really hard conversation for us to get back on the same page.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think part of that was, like you said, like that they're starting to stack up. And then, there's so many things that's like, he's not seeing me, he's not hearing me, he's not like paying attention to, why can't you see me so busy with the house and the kids and this and that? And for whatever reason, like you're in your own world, like your work and school. And so after that starts to build, then you just really start feeling all of it compounded like at once.
Yeah. And it explodes. I mean, it doesn't. Luckily for us, it's never been explosive or anything like that. No.
We're not really explosive.
Yeah,
people.
We're not.
We don't yell, and that's just not how we've ever. Like, even though we're not communicating how we were years ago. We're a lot better now, but we've never been that type of communication we've never been one to yell at each other or scream or fight that way.
I think is why when we do get a little bit loud, the kids freak out.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, I mean, because we're just not those people. So we don't, I mean, obviously we don't run around screaming at our kids for every little thing. So, you know, when we do have to raise our voice to them, it's like, oh my God, they're serious. Dad's serious. Mom's serious.
You know, it's one of those, I mean, you go back to it. If in silence and in not clearing up those gaps and those situations that you are not verbalizing and making known, that silence is what ends up damaging or can damage the relationship.
That silence is dangerous. I think that's why we always go back to why communication is so important. With little things, with big things, with everyday things, with, you know, you have to establish that communication with your partner.
Yeah, well, and with everybody, right? So the one thing that is fundamentally true for everybody is you do not know what another person's perspective is, because you cannot truly, you can empathize to a point, but you cannot truly put yourself in the same mindset, same perspective, same background, same situations that have happened to fully understand what their perspective is on whatever is happening. However they're reacting to things, however they have, you know, whatever expectations they might have. Because, I mean, even in our situation, in both of our minds, our expectations were very clear. And we're generally of pretty similar wavelength, pretty similar mindset. But even us, our expectations of each other were way different than we assumed, is why we continue to harp on, you know, being open and being able to talk through some of those things.
Well, and I think some of that is because we never took the time like we do now, and not just communicate, but also, like, even if I don't understand your point of view or your perspective on something, I still respect it, and I don't discount it, or I don't, you know, try to change it to what I want it to be, you know, and we've never done that before.
Yeah.
We've always just, no, I want you to see my perspective because it's the right perspective. And so then comes that resentment again because you're not even trying to see my point of view.
Right. Well, and that's that bit we talked about in a previous episode that, you know, that's 100%, that's ego. That's your ego telling you that you're the one that has to be right.
Yeah.
That your opinion is the only one that matters. But it's also a little bit of that, not even so much that you want to be right, but that you don't want to be wrong. And that's a hard one, because even in situations that we have encountered, like, it's not necessarily that either one of us is wrong. It's just that we see things completely different.
Yeah, just two different perspectives.
But I think it's real easy to get tied up in that, well, if I'm not right, I'm wrong frame of mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it doesn't always have to be right or wrong.
I mean, it does.
Not always. Not always. Sometimes we're both right. Sometimes we're both wrong.
But I generally try to live, I like to think of everything in black and white. Like, it's a yes or no. It's very, I don't like living in gray very much. But to that point, that is also the way I perceive black and white. It's not even necessarily the way you do. So again, it's one of those situations where you're never going to understand another person's full-on motives or perspective unless you talk about it. And that goes 100-fold when you're talking about expectations that you have for somebody. Because, I mean, think about just our situation. And, you know, we've worked through a lot and we've done a lot. And obviously, that's the whole point of this, right? Is to be able to talk through and maybe share some bits of insight with others.
Yeah, I mean, we get to the nitty gritty.
But through our, you know, conversations and deep reflection, we have both also come to the understanding that your expectations of yourself and my expectations of myself are way more intense than our expectations are of each other.
Yeah. Yeah, we put those expectations on ourselves for me personally, I put them on myself and they're not really attainable. And so I started to set myself up for failure because I put all these expectations on myself to be the perfect mom, the perfect wife, the perfect, you know, like have the house always clean, the laundry always done, the lunch is always made, the dinner's always made, grocery shopping. I mean, there's just a whole list in my everyday that I do. And so if one of those things didn't get done, I failed in my mind. That was my own expectation. And it was I mean, it starts to compound even those expectations of myself, because I'm constantly in my mind letting myself down and thinking. And then when I have those unspoken expectations of you, that also makes me feel unseen, unheard, failure, so all of it compounded between those I have on you and the ones I put on myself. It's like at the end of every day.
Well, yeah, because you're living in the assumption that I have those same expectations.
Yes.
When the reality of it is, when once we finally sat down and were able to talk about it, it was one of those situations where no, I don't care if you do that stuff. Like, I thought you wanted to do that. Like, it doesn't bother me if it doesn't get done. And if you need help, we're here to help. It's not anything that anybody's asking you to do or expects you to do. But, it's the same for me. Like, I have all of these expectations about, work and career and, how I'm protecting the house and what I'm doing to make sure that the kids are taken care of and you're taken care of, and that. And sometimes it gets to be a lot, and you're the same way. It's very like nobody's asking you to do the 50 million things that you're trying to do.
And you also don't put those on me. Like, you don't expect me to figure out the career and the 10-year plan and it's like, it's just a conversation that we had to have that finally allowed us to just kind of set all of that down and step back and say, we don't have to put those on each other. We don't have to put those on ourselves. We don't put them on our kids. I don't put it on you. Why are we putting it on ourselves?
Right. And that's one of those situations, and little bits of advice that, we can offer anybody is when you are in a situation where you feel like you are not enough and when you feel like you are not living up to an expectation that you have of yourself, think of the grace that you would give a child, a friend, a parent, a significant other, a partner, whoever is close to you. Think of that in your mind. Would you have that same expectation of that person that you are setting for yourself?
Right.
Which in 99% of those cases, you would not.
You would not. Yeah.
And maybe it's not that high of a percentage, because I don't know everybody's situation either.
Yeah. I mean, I would say probably would be like, yeah, I would never expect that of my kid, or I would never expect that of my husband.
Right.
But it's so easy to expect that of yourself.
But it has also given us the opportunity to have those conversations to be able to reframe the way we speak to each other. We don't necessarily approach it anymore as, and we've talked about this a little bit, where we laid ground rules for some of the hard topics, but even on the light topics, it's not so much, what am I not doing? It's, how can I help?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I need this, instead of, why didn't you do this? Or you should have done this.
Right.
It's like, I need you to take out the trash because it's just one thing that's like an added to my already 4-hour cleaning that I do.
Or just a simple ask of, hey, can you take out the trash?
Yeah.
Because it's something that, like, it sounds very simple, but it is so low on my priority list that I just don't think about it. Right. And I'm sure that there's things like that for you as well, where it's like, hey, I need laundry soap, or I need, soap or shower stuff. Can you stop by the store and do whatever?
Yeah.
Instead of me being upset that
you're out and there's none.
Right. So it's one of those, it's just an example to say that people will and are likely to approach a situation a lot more open-minded if you're asking for help.
Yeah. And I think, too, it's important to consider that person. Like, for us, it was like, I needed to consider you and your day and the things that you do on a daily basis or whatever. And it's like, and even the things that I do, it's like, I have to consider and give that grace to you because, like you said, it's very low on your priority list because you have so many other things on your list that I need to give you that grace. And like, yeah, he's forgot to take out the trash because he's literally working, so we have the things we have, or and vice versa. It's like, I think of how many things on my list every single day, and I need that grace in that, well, yeah, I didn't even know or think to get you soap because That's not on my priority
Right.
list to go check the bathroom every single day to see what everybody's out of, or,
And
so.
I guess that leads us to another just simple one, right? That's an unexpected expectation. Like I expect that as you're expecting me to take out the trash and do some of the things around the house, the yard or whatever it may be. Like you're the one that gets the groceries and gets all the stuff for the house. So, and again, it's one of those things where I don't think people talk about like what is that expectation. Oftentimes, you will find that it's not even the expectation that is the problem. It's that they don't talk about it, which we can attest to. For us, it got to a point where we were not communicating well. We were not able to have a conversation about what was really bothering us because there was so many little underlying things that we hadn't addressed.
Right.
That it compounds and compounds and compounds.
There's so many of those unspoken expectations that were unmet that just kept piling up, that by the time you went to talk about one thing.
Yeah, it's like 15 different things that blow up and you're like, well, this and this and this and this and this and this.
And then both of you were just feeling like, well, crap, I failed. I'm a failure. I can't do anything right.
So it's about being able to have a constructive conversation and being able to communicate in the light so that your needs can be met and you can meet the needs of others. Because in anything that's expected of you that you don't know, how are you ever going to live up to that?
Yeah, you can't. You don't know what's out there as an expectation of you, so there's no way that you'll be able to meet that expectation. And by communicating and talking about it, even the little things, the big things, we're giving each other that chance to meet those expectations and to show up for each other instead of just expecting them in silence and constantly feeling unseen or unheard because they're not meeting them.
Right. And I don't want to paint it like it's always going to be positive either.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be situations where it's an expectation that you have that person cannot meet or, meet.
Yeah.
But through conversation and through communication.
And through a lot of grace.
It is my experience that even in those dark times, shedding light on the situation provides a path forward. Whether that path forward is mutually beneficial for both of you, whether that path forward is going your separate ways, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
It does at least provide that level playing field where you both know what you need and you can start to move forward.
And you can understand that it is something you can move forward together on and try to meet those needs and want to meet those needs, or you say, I can't meet those needs, I can't meet those expectations.
Or maybe I don't want to meet those
expectations. I don't want to. But at least, like you said, it's out there. You've talked about it, you've communicated it, and there's nothing unsaid.
And that's honestly the light that you can bring to any relationship. Because even in that darkest moment when, marriage may be failing, things are happening that should not have happened, whatever it may be, whatever the situation may be, being able to put it out there so that it is out there for everybody in the situation involved to know, does bring that spark of light. And it does create that, again, that basis of understanding that, okay, this is where we are right now.
Yeah. And
these are the options for where we're headed.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the time you'll also find that, communication is connection. Just by communicating, that could be that spark of light that connects you again. I feel like it did for us, and it opened us up to want to communicate even more.
Yeah, there's nothing now that I'm scared to converse with you or communicate with you about, because the other side of it is you learn to find out that, like, especially it's true in my case, like, you give me a ton of grace.
Yeah, vice versa.
Which is one of those things that when you grow up in the environment that I grew up with, and like I said, like I've told everybody before, I had a great childhood. My parents were great, but it does allow for you to see another person offering you unconditional love outside of, your parental structure or your core family unit or whatever it may be. It's what I want for my kids. You know what I mean? The same thing is I would give them the same grace that I give you, because I know how hard life can be, and I know how situations can be, and I know how hard they are on themselves and you are on yourself. So, like, why would I not want to try and support you in any way that I can. But it's when you fail to communicate and stay silent that things get hard.
They get hard, and it's just so much unknown that leads to, like we said, all the assumptions, all the walls that you put up after a while because of that silence. It's just, silence is dangerous.
Human nature is to protect yourself from anything that could, harm you, right? So the funny thing about silence is it's going to create whatever narrative it feels is the most safe. Whether that's going to be highly dependent on what your situation is and some of those issues as well. But, it's going to create the narrative that is going to create the best outcome. And whatever that may be, it could very much lead to, well, now you're creating walls so that you're not getting hurt. So you're not letting people in, you're not connecting with people on a different level.
Yeah.
So,
but that also sets you up for not being able to get your needs met and your expectations met as well.
But it's not always fun. It's not always not fun. I do feel like sometimes you find out some very interesting things when you do start to verbalize some of those expectations that you have of somebody else. I feel like through our conversations, I have found that there is a lot of things that I assumed that you had expectations of me that you just don't. It lifts that. Yeah. You said it earlier. It lifts that weight of like, oh, well, okay. I guess I don't have
to worry about. Yeah, and it's something that you probably would worry about constantly.
And it allows you to focus your energy on other things.
Yeah, on what's important, because I feel like a lot of those things are a lot of the unspoken expectations in the grand scheme of things are just not that important.
Yeah, truthfully, it's one of those situations where is this going to matter in 5 years? Is this going to matter in 5 minutes? Is it going to matter in 5 hours?
Yeah.
I think we've run into situations where we're arguing and we both realize this is a stupid argument.
Yeah, is it going to matter at the end of the day when you get home and we're having dinner and then hanging out with the kids or whatever? It's not going to matter. Neither one of us is going to be thinking about it, worrying about it. So why are we even having this conversation?
Which leads back to, asking for your needs to be met. It really just does help provide clarity more than anything.
Yeah.
If you proceed through your day just assuming that everybody knows what you're thinking, you're going to be pretty unhappy throughout your day. And that is the bigger takeaway that everybody should have is that, through clear communication and through clear clarity of situations, you, on a selfish level, should want that peace.
Yeah.
Because it's real easy to be upset with, the 15, 20, 30, 40, 100 people you come across in a day because they don't understand what you expect. But it's not good for your mental. It's not good for your stress. It's not good for your, it wears on the body to go through life that way. Being able to express yourself in a manner that lets people know what you expect and how you, and it's not, I'm not even saying that, again, sometimes people aren't going to meet those expectations that you have set. But if you've made them very clear, I think of work, right? So at work, how am I going to be mad at somebody that doesn't know that I need them to do a specific duty or a specific job, right? And how I expect them to get it done. But I may let them know, this is, A, B, C, and D, this is what needs to happen, this is how it needs to happen. I have less stress now because I know that if they don't meet that expectation, okay, well, from there, I know what the outcome needs to be.
Right.
Not, well, it being in my head of, oh, well, they just don't want to listen. Oh, they just don't want to work. To your point, the 50 million other things that are going to run through your brain to answer the unknown, which again, it's that thing of clarity is going to give you peace of mind. It's going to let you go throughout your day and give you that opportunity to really focus on what matters. So, hopefully you guys are getting some gems from some of this talk and conversation. We do appreciate everybody listening, and we implore you to share your light with others. So we wish you a blessed week, and we'll catch you on the next one.